This is Jay Buchanan from the Rival Sons, and you are on BackstageAxxess.com.
Gus Messenger here at Backstage Access, downtown Buffalo at the Town Ballroom, with a guy who's actually been very familiar with the Town Ballroom a lot lately, Jay Buchanan of Rival Sons. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing very well, and hello out there in the ether.
Second time in 6 months have you guys been here, and the town loves you guys, and that's why you guys have been back. I think you guys have played here before that. Tell us the affinity with Buffalo, and tell us about, have you got to experience at all the downtown or visiting anywhere or doing anything?
Unfortunately, last time we came here, it was pretty damn cold.
A little bit.
But there was there was a big play going on, right on the other side, on the main street right there.
Shays, probably.
Yeah, there were a couple of plays going on, and because of that, all of the restaurants were sold out. We couldn't find anything to eat. But we got to walk around this main strip, and then go around the corner and get a cup of coffee at that joint over there. But other than that, just it's far and few and far between that you have time to literally go around and really get the culture of the city. We end up living in kind of a microcosm that way, because we got sound check, press, and all of that, and then you got to get in your pre-show ritual and start getting into the show,
And if you have to check out these guys live. They got a lot of dates coming up, and one of the festivals you guys are playing, Rock on the Range, next weekend, and then I believe you go over to Europe in the summer, do some festivals over there.
Yes.
So you'll be on the road for quite a while. So check
basically,
these guys out.
we're booked between now all through 2016, and
the last record that came out last year, Great Western Valkyrie, did very well on the charts. Dave Cobb is the producer yet again. Another great record. Tell us about the making of the record and your relationship with Dave.
Those are really broad questions. My relationship with Dave, we're really close, so that's a long answer. I think Dave is just fantastic. I think he's absolutely the right producer for this band, for the Sons. He's like, when we get into the studio, it's kind of like he's like the fifth member that way, because he really gets it from the very beginning. He really understands what we're trying to do, and even when he doesn't understand what we're trying to do, he understands us. We have a really good relationship, and the making of the record, boy, well, it took us 6 weeks. We went down to Nashville, and it was the coldest winter in like 30 years or something like that.
Until this winter.
And so, remember last year, that huge cold front that was coming through, and everybody was freezing. And so we were there, because it was so cold outside. It was an interesting thing, because it made the whole experience a very insular and isolated thing. You couldn't, everyone's used to going outside and exercising and jogging or just being outside. We're beach people, come from California, and so being locked indoors, you get that cabin fever. So because of that, I think that it definitely affected the tone of the record. There wasn't anything to do except keep writing and keep working on the music, and I think that our efforts on this record, I think we were a little bit more focused on just trying to be ourselves more than anything, and figuring out how who the band is, what are we going to do. And we had brought in Dave Bestie on bass after Robin resigned, and so we had some fresh blood there, and so that was nice. And I don't know. I think it's a good record.
It's definitely in the tone of what you guys usually do, and very classic feel to it. A lot of blues, a lot of hard rock, a lot of good riffs, a lot of melodies. But going forward and talking about you know, how you guys make music, and a lot of bands from the 70s, and I don't want to classify you as a 70s rock band that's current, but
yeah,
it's kind of like that, you know. I hate to say, you know, this is what you guys are, but you guys definitely have that vibe to it. A lot of the bands in the 70s came out with a lot of records, like back to back, like they cranked out records every year or every other year. And that's kind of the feel that you guys have.
Well, they did that in the 60s, and they did it in the 50s too. Because the industry was young, and they hadn't gotten used to the idea of milking something and beating it to death. You know, now...
True.
You know, it's really lost on a lot of people, and I'm not sure why, because it isn't difficult. And it isn't rocket science to me. You just keep making records. And the most important thing, period, is, you know, being a musician is creative output. So with the artistry, you need to do right by the art before anything else. And that, you never know how long a band is going to stay together. You know, bands don't last forever. But I think it's in the band's best interest to always just try to have more creative output, because every time you go into the studio, you're getting a new opportunity to prove to yourselves who you are. You know, and as the clubs get bigger into theaters, the theaters get bigger into these huge concert halls, into arenas, you know, and each time when you go in to make a record, you get to prove to yourself that you've earned it. You know, do we still have it? How fast can the horse run? And you again get to prove yourselves to the audience, because they're waiting. They're constantly waiting. You know, it doesn't matter how often you record a record, they're just going to want more.
Right.
So, you know, I feel like it's good for both ends, and we've done our best to maintain a good clip of making one record a year, but it's been difficult for the last 2 albums because we're on the road so much. As the audience grows and expands globally, we have to be on the road more. Right. So we're trying to figure out right now when we're going to be able.
And that was my next question about new music. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, we're not working on music right now. You know, I write every day and everything, and everybody likes to mess around during sound check, but we don't really we don't bring anything into the studio. You know, we don't bring old ideas or anything prefabricated, so that, you know, each day we make a new song, and we work on a new song each day, and then as soon as the arrangement's together, we record it. So, you know, we're trying to capture like that creative flashpoint and that honesty. Before we know what we're doing, we want to get the sound of us trying to do what we're not sure of.
Right.
So, but because of that, that's why, you know, no, we're not working on new material right now.
I think it's it's old but yet refreshing that you take that approach to making new music, that you take what you basically said, that I think it's been lost on the industry about, you know, letting something, you know, sit and not stench after a while, I guess, and kind of recycle it. So it's definitely refreshing that you're bringing back the old attitudes. So.
Well, it really works for us, and I think we've done right by the art to that degree on our recordings. And because if you do all of this pre-production, and, you know, we've all made records that way, where you get it just right before you even go into the studio, well, then what you're doing once you get into the studio is you're really giving your best flawless recital. And there's something about that doesn't seem right, you know. That doesn't really go, it seems mutually exclusive to what rock and roll is supposed to be.
And you open up for some of the biggest bands in the world, some artists, including Aerosmith, Kiss, Sammy Hagar, to name a few.
AC/DC.
AC/DC, of course. Nice. Some of the shows at festivals, name some of them that you think really help broaden the band and bring them, like, obviously more into the mainstream. If you can name a couple. Are you talking
about festivals, or are you talking about
festivals or shows? Just any of the bands that you went on tour with, which one can you say, well, you know, playing
like
this festival really, yeah, exactly.
I mean, really, the festivals are great. And, you know, playing for, you know, opening up for these legendary bands, that's cool too, but does it really stick? Does it mean anything? you know, how many fans do you get? You know, how many new ears really are into what you're doing? That's a toss-up because, you know, like when we opened for AC/DC fans, they've been waiting, you know, they waited months and months for that one moment to come. You know, they're marking down their calendars. Then they wake up that morning, like, okay,
finally 6 months it's here,
AC/DC tonight.
Right.
So then we are that thing that stands in between them and AC/DC. Ultimately, where they're like, okay, great, there's a band. I want them to get off stage right now, and it doesn't matter, you know, that you're really at a disadvantage that way, but you do it anyways, and it's a great experience. And for festivals, you know, we did Isle of Wight this last year, and I think that was a really good festival for us in terms of broadening our fan base. I'm not exactly sure, you know, what the impact was. I don't really keep tabs on that. I think that maybe social media, you know, I think if you were to look at the breakdown of maybe editions or tweets, or I don't know, that's not really my bag, but going on television, you know, like playing on Letterman, you know, that is the equivalent of commercial fishing. You know, it's a really large net, and you know, you get to more people. You know, I think that those things have helped us greatly. Playing the Monsters of Rock down in Sao Paulo, Brazil, last week, that was a big one because we played for 50,000 people. It was our first time down there, and they're all singing our songs. And that was really, like, awesome. I think more than any festival, that blew my mind. They blew my mind, and we all walked off stage going, what just happened? You know, you can't anticipate something so great ever happening to you.
I think when you look at those bands I kind of mentioned, a lot of the bands have been around the horn, and a lot of the questions people ask them of what type of new bands are you into? What are you guys listening to, or who do you guys like, or who do you guys think that may take the horn, so to speak, of rock and kind of move it forward? And your band is usually the answer to that question. How do you guys feel about that when somebody else looks at you guys as kind of like the next thing?
I'm delighted, of course.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of pressure maybe on that, or?
No, I mean, what's the pressure going to be? You know, if somebody says that they like what you're doing, I mean, you know, if you got into music, you know, thinking you just can't, there really isn't any pressure. You know, the real responsibility is just to be yourself and do what you do as honestly as you can, and just, you know, check yourself every now and then and make sure that you're really being genuine and that you're being as authentic as you're capable of being. And you know, that's a struggle in of itself, especially with the image of what rock and roll music or rock music and, like, you know, all of these bands, that's just not our thing. You know, we play the music and try to dress handsomely because you feel good. You feel better when you feel handsome, you know. But yeah, there's no pressure about that, but I'm really thankful, I'm really happy about that.
You guys, you're just talking about the dates in the UK and how they went over so well, and are fans over, since you guys have, like, say, that British invasion type of thing possibly a little bit to you guys? Do you guys feel that maybe you guys are more accepted over in Europe a little bit more than you are like here? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, you know, I get that. You'd be surprised. I get that question in every interview.
Okay, all right.
I mean, and it's funny that people think that that's like an oddity, or that, you know, like, how peculiar. You know, you do so well over there, and you know, they say things like, and you can't get arrested in the United States, and all of these things. The truth is that we've spent more time in Europe and in the UK touring because economically, you know, touring's very expensive. It's very, very expensive for a band, and for all of these places that we play, we sell out everywhere. You know, the band actually, you know, we don't make all that much because we have a lot of overhead. We employ a lot of people, on a bus, and, you know, all of those things that it takes to put on a show, from lighting and it's just, you know, all of the people that make the show happen. aside from us. So when you can cover a lot more ground and a lot more, so many more territories within 2 months if you're going to Europe, if you're going to the UK. Whereas here, you could spend 2 months just trying to get through Texas.
Right.
And so we salt and pepper, the East Coast and the West Coast, like what we're doing right now, and we recognize that we try to remember to nurture the fan base. The fan base in the United States is absolutely growing, but if you look at it from a per capita, perspective, we're doing well, but to be like a superstar or anything like that, I don't know that that's ever going to be in the cards for us. I feel like we're just going to keep making rock and roll, and if people want to shoot us up there and and put us at the top, well, that would be great. That would be very nice. But the fan base is growing here. But to really answer your question, I really think that it's because we signed with Earache Records, and they're out of Nottingham, just north of London. And it's a metal label, and all of their resources were in the UK and Europe. They didn't really have any resources in the United States, and to this day, they have very little going on here. And so I think that we were able to capitalize on their resources, and so that like any wild animal, we went to where the water was immediately. So. Well, short answer given in long form.
Wrapping up here, last question I have for you. We talked about this earlier. The band's doing a bunch of dates, and obviously we talked about the festivals and stuff. You guys are going to be on tour the rest of 2015. Anything else you want to tell the fans about the band, possibly doing any promos or any kind of, like you said, some TV or anything in Europe maybe got scheduled, or anything differently?
No, we're going to be doing some touring. We've got a couple of really big announcements that are going to be coming out in the next 2 weeks as far as what we're getting into for this next year and toward the end of the year. We really want to get in and make another record. So, thanks for the support. And the reason I've been looking around, I'm not out of my mind. There are awesome concert posters all over this little room, and that
This is our first time doing an interview in the production office here at the Town Ballroom. We're usually upstairs in the artist room, but this is kind of cool, different.
The eye,
So, but we thank Jay Buchanan for the Rival Sons talking to us at BackstageAxxess.com. Thanks for taking the time.
Thank you.